everyone, Rad Drew here. I've got a quick little video that I'm going to share with you about how I use the portrait mode in the iPhone camera in combination with the SnapSeed portrait editor. And it's just a great combination for doing some really fun things with your portraits. So I'll try and make it short and sweet, and hopefully it'll give you some ideas to try on your own. So the image that you're looking at is two little girls that I met in Vinales, Cuba earlier in the month. We were photographing an old couple on their porch, and these two little girls saw us from across the road and came running over to see what all the excitement was about. And after photographing the old couple, I moved over and engaged these kids. And it was really fun because I don't speak much Spanish and they didn't speak English. So we just laughed and goofed around. They were cutting up for me. And I asked them if they were sisters. And they thought that was really funny and laughed, and then said no, they were just friends. And so we just continued to play around, and they said I could take their portrait. So I began shooting using the portrait mode in the native camera of the iPhone XS that I use. So let me just show you what that looks like briefly. I'm going to go up here and select the native camera, and this is what the native camera looks like, and I'm going to slide over to portrait, and this is the tool that I used for making that image. Now I'm not going to go into how I did that here, but I have another video. If you're interested, you can check that out on my YouTube channel on using the portrait mode. What I'm going to do is go back to our image here, and I want to show you how you can edit the portrait that you've taken in the iPhone editor. So this image right now is just in my camera roll, and if I go up to the top right, you'll see a little edit button, and I'm going to tap on that, and when I do, this is what I see. Up at the top in yellow, it tells me this is a portrait that I've taken, an image that I've taken with the portrait mode, and down below I have a row of different lighting options that I can choose. There's natural light and studio light. Look how it brings the face up a little bit. There's contour light and some others. And so one of the cool things about this is you can select one of those lighting options before you take the photograph, but you don't have to. You can take the photograph in any way you want with any of those modes, and then come into this editing tool and change it to any other option at any time. So it's really great. You don't have to worry about that setting or that selection when you're taking the photo. You can correct or select it later. The other thing that you have now, what you're seeing below here is with the iPhone XS Max. You won't see this on earlier phones, and that's your ability to adjust the depth of that bokeh or blur that you're getting behind the subject. The dual lens iPhone started with the 7 Plus, and each time they've come out with a new phone, they've improved this tool a little bit to where now with the XS Max and the XS, you have all of the features that you see here. The earlier phones don't have the lighting modes. They still give you the depth of field, but they don't have the lighting modes that you can choose. And then some of them later than that, I think the 8 Plus came out and allows you to do the lighting modes, but they still don't have the depth of field adjustment. So if you're not seeing all of these things on your phone, it means you're probably using a phone that's prior to the XS. For me, it's been one of the great reasons for going to the XS or the XS Max as I did. This feature's been so much fun. So in addition to being able to choose these light modes on the XS, you can also simulate depth of field. So right now the default is 4.5, so this is simulating the aperture on a camera. If I take that aperture down, opening it wide up to 1.4, look what happens to my background now. I've got a really sharp focus on my face, but this background is this really soft blur or bokeh. And if I take my finger now and roll it this way, I'm closing my shutter down a little bit, and the more I close it down, the less blurred it becomes, and the more focus I have, the longer depth of field I have. So now if I take it all the way up to f16, that's simulating a very small aperture, and now look, I've got focus all the way from the foreground to the background. Now one of the things that I notice here, if I take it back down to 1.4, I see a really nice blur all the way around everywhere, but you notice this area between the faces, the camera's not picking that up. The sensors or the computer's not recognizing that as a place to blur. So it's not perfect. Sometimes it gets a little confused in the simulation that it's doing. But if this was just a straight portrait here, that would all be blurred and it would be great. In this case, I don't care so much about that, because what I'm going to do is drop that background out. And this again is one of the really cool features of this tool. I'm going to play with these modes. So again, we've got natural light, studio light, contour light, and then look at this, stage light. Stage light drops the background out and just highlights your subject that's in focus. So you can then take it one step further and go to stage light mono. That's what I want for this portrait. I really like the way the tones come out in their faces, and I like the black and white a lot. I like the fact that we've dropped the background out. So I'm going to play with that. So now that I've got my edit set up here, I'm going to go ahead and say done down here, tap done in the lower right, and it's going to save my photo, and it's put it back in the camera roll. It's the same image we just had in color. I can go back into this edit mode anytime I want and change it to color, to change the lighting mode, to change the depth of field, any of that. So this is the image I'm going to work with, and I want to take it into SnapSeed. So to do that, I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to tap the share icon down here, and I'm going to tap on copy. So I've now copied this image to a clipboard, and now I'm going to go to SnapSeed and open it up and tap on it, and I'm going to say paste the image that I've put on the clipboard. So I'll paste, and excuse me, and there's our image. So now what I want to do is go down to tools at the bottom, and I'm going to scroll down in my tools until I come to portrait. It's right here. I'm going to tap on that, and now I'm in the portrait mode. And you notice down below we've got about I don't know, 5 or maybe a dozen different presets. Well, you can tap through those presets, but here's what's interesting. It comes in and defaults to Spotlight 1. But if you scroll up and down, all of these presets are made up with these 3 adjustments: face spotlight, skin smoothing, and eye clarity. So what I'm going to do is start by looking at this image and say, okay, let's go to the face spotlighting. And let's see, do I need to brighten any of the area in the face a little bit? So if I drag across to the right, I can go, there's all the way to 100. And look, I've brightened their faces considerably. On this image, I don't need that. What I might do though is bring them up and just bring it up to about, I don't know. And again, I'm just watching the image and looking at their face. And anytime I want to see compare it to the before and after, I'm just going to press on the screen. So there's before and there's after. It's a pretty subtle difference. I'm going to go up to about 30 here. There's before and there's after. Again, I'll do it one more time. It's really hard to see. Before and after. So the next thing I'm going to do is go down to skin smoothing. Now, skin smoothing is great when you've got an older person or you've got a lot of wrinkles or things. These kids are 12 years old probably, and they've got perfect complexions. But I'm going to smooth the skin just a little bit because it's going to take some of the noise out. I don't want to go very far at all because I don't want to lose detail in her eyebrows and her hair. But there's before and there's after. It's just a little bit of smoothing. You might find that you'll go up a lot more on an adult face. And so I'm going to look at both of these. There's before and there's after, and I'm happy. Whoops, my skin smoothing, I dropped it down. I want it to be about 15 or so. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to eye clarity. This is the one that just I think is the most incredible feature of this tool. I was lucky with this image to get some really nice catch lights in the eyes. You can see the reflection of the light that's shining on her face is caught in her eyes. That's a really desirable characteristic in a portrait. It just really accentuates the most important part of the face in a portrait, the eyes. The eye clarity slider, what it allows you to do, and let me just zoom in on her face a little bit, and you see up at the top it says eye clarity 0, and I'm going to slide my finger to the right, and I'm going to take it up maybe to 25 or so. And now there's before and there's after. you got to be careful with this because you can overdo it. So for example, there's 100. So now we've got devil eyes going on. You got to be careful not to overdo it. And I find anytime I get over about 30, I got to be real careful and look closely at what I've got. But there's 25, and I kind of like that. I think that's not quite too much. It's giving me a nice accentuation of those catch lights that are there. Let's look at this side too. That looks really good. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do. We made three adjustments. We spotlighted the face, we smoothed the skin just a tiny bit, and we bumped the eye clarity up to about 20. So now I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark to commit to those changes, and voila, we're done with this image. There's one last thing I want to do though. I always like to put my signature on the images that I post on social media. So I have a signature that I got from a company called Photo Logo, and I'll put some information at the end of this video if you're interested in getting that. I've got a code that you can get a discount on it if you want. But what I want to do is add my signature, but there's no room to put it on the image without marring the image. So for this image, I want to add a frame around it and leave a space at the bottom where I can put my signature. So for that, I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to choose the expand feature up here on the top right in the second row. I'll just click on that. And now we're in the expand feature, and you notice down below you have three different buckets you can choose. There's a smart bucket, a white bucket, and a black bucket. The smart bucket is going to use the content aware technology like the healing brush uses. And watch what happens when I pull the frame up at the top. It's going to fill with that black right at the edge. I'm going to do the same over here on the left. And so what happens is, I mean, if you've got an image that needs a little room at the top, this is a perfect way to do that. For, excuse me, for this image, I don't need to do that, so I'm going to just bring it back to the base where it was. What I want to do for this image is add a white frame. So I'm going to tap on the white fill bucket, and now what I'm going to do is drag up, and look, I can add a frame on each side and get it just right. Now, the problem with doing it the way I did is that you notice it's not exactly even everywhere. Well, this is how I did it for the longest time until I learned this little trick. So I'm going to go back, put everything back to where it was, and now I'm going to take two fingers and place it right on the image and do that two-finger expand gesture, and watch what happens. I'm getting a frame exactly the same on all sides, and I can just move in and out, and I can make it as big or small as I want. So I'm going to go about right there, and now I'm going to take my finger and pull down the bottom edge to give me room to put my signature. That's it. I'm going to click on the check mark to commit to those changes, and now I'm ready to go add my signature. So I'm going to click on Export. I'm going to save a copy. And now I'm going to go to the tool that I use to add that, and that I use Image Blender. It's the one up here that's the red and white icon on the top row. I'm going to tap on that and open it up. And it's opening up to the last image I worked on. So you'll notice I have on the left is the image, and on the right is a transparency of my signature. And I'm going to use that black signature in my next image. So I'm just going to tap on the image on the left and remove it. And then I'm going to tap again on that and go to the library, go to our photos, and I'm going to grab this image that we just used. Now you can see there's the signature, but it's not in the right place and it's too big. So what I want to do is arrange that. Well, there's an arrange mode here. If I go up to the top of the screen, there's an X of two arrows, but I can either tap that or I can slide my finger to the left. And when I do, I'm now in the arrange mode. So I can move this around wherever I want, and I can take my two fingers and pinch to size it. So I'm going to pinch it down to about that big, and I'm going to put it kind of in a good spot right about there. And now I'm going to tap save, and that's going to save that adjustment. And now I can actually adjust the intensity of that too. Now I can take the slider and slide it down, and I can make it gray or lighter. I want it to be full effect here. And now I'm done. I'm going to click the share icon in the upper top of the right and save it to the camera roll. And now if we go out and look at the camera roll, we can see our image. There it is. There's our signature, and there's our beautiful image. So there you have it. Pretty simple, quick way of doing some really neat portrait stuff, and then adding a signature in a frame. And like I said, I will put the information about the photo logo at the back of this video. And by all means, if you like it, give me a thumbs up on YouTube, and you might subscribe to my YouTube channel. I try and put a video out like this every once in a while to share some of the things that I'm learning. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me an email or contact me through social media or whatever. And until next time, have fun making photographs. Talk to you later.